scientist based in the UK. I'm helping various companies across the globe with anything and everything related to sensory science. And I would like to give you a very warm welcome to the European Sensory Science Society, or E3S, because that's a bit of a mouthful, Education Working Group webinar. I'm just going to whiz through a few slides just to give you some background to the E3S and our Education Working Group before we introduce the team for today's webinar. If I can remind you to keep your microphone and camera off throughout the webinar is being recorded. So the European Sensory Science Society, if you want to know more about us, you can scan the QR code there. We're a non-profit organisation created to promote cooperation, shared goals, group activities, knowledge and information exchange, for example, by organising the Eurosense conference, which this year is going to be in Oslo, Norway in September. And we have this information exchange amongst the national sensory science organisations across Europe. So here's a list of the national societies from the 15 countries listed. I represent the Institute of Food Science and Technology's Sensory Science Group, right at the very bottom there. And the Education Working Group has representatives from each of the national societies on the list. So please join us if you're interested in education in sensory science. You can find out more about the Education Working Group at that QR code there. So the E3S has several working groups, and the Education Working Group are organising this webinar today. So we focus on 6 areas, plus socialising, which is obviously the most important area. Our mission statement is to support the development, education and training of future and existing sensory professionals, while promoting sensory science as an exciting career path, which I wonder sometimes whether we need to promote it as an exciting career path, because we know that it obviously is a very exciting career path. One of the other working groups of the European Sensory Science Society is the Next Generation group. They're a friendly group of students and early career scientists whose aims are to build a communication network through fun activities and events. They arrange get-togethers at conferences and events. And if you want to find more about them, then just scan the QR code there. Their members are here today to help us with this webinar. So what is this webinar all about? Well, we've collected questions from within the Education Working Group, which myself and Adriana are going to ask the Next Generation folk. So this will last about 35 minutes. You can also ask questions in the webinar by typing them here in Google Meet. So if you look for the 9 dots on the bottom right-hand corner, if you click on that, then a dialog box should appear. Look for the Q&A and then the nice blue button, Ask a Question. So we're asking you to put your questions here rather than in the chat, because if people are chatting generally, we might miss your questions. Please keep your microphones and cameras off during the whole webinar. It is being recorded. So let's meet everyone from the group. Adriana, would you like to introduce yourself first?
Of course. So my name is Adriana. I'm from Portugal. I'm in an early stage of my sensory career. I've been working in the food industry. And a little bit about my background, I have a bachelor in nutrition science, and then I did a master in food science. That's where I start my passion for sensory. And that's basically everything about myself. Perhaps the rest can introduce yourselves, tell us a bit about your background, and as well what led you into sensory science. Zina, I don't know if you would like as well.
Yes, thank you, Adriana. Hi, I'm Zina Katruk. I'm 27 years old and work as a sensory scientist in Fraunhofer Institute in a German town near Munich. There I research on different topics, but mainly on non-food products like cosmetics, recycled plastics, that is a new topic in the sensory, and packages at all. Actually, I have studied food technology, as you, Adriana, and at the University of Applied Science in Neubrandenburg, in north of Germany. There, I have decided that sensory is my path, and I'm very glad to be here and to share my knowledge with you and to hear from you. What are you interested in? Yes, thank you very much. And
Was
soon.
there, sorry, just to
Yeah.
ask, was there a specific moment that led you think,
Mhm.
okay, sensory science is really for me?
I was very curious from the early ages what kind of foods there are, how can I describe them, but being in my study, my professor of sensory study science has inspired me. He shared his knowledge in such a professional way and so skillful, told about the sensory topics that was nearly as a story, and I was so I quickly decided that was my favorite topic and favorite subject in my study, and he involved me in many other sensory projects, and I liked it. And yeah, this only strengthened my ambition to remain in this world of sensory science, and I am very happy to be here.
Good to hear.
Yeah, thank you. Ansun, could you like to continue?
Yeah, I can continue. Hi, my name is Ansen Kim. I'm based in Sweden. I'm a postdoc researcher at SLU, the Swedish Agricultural University. I just started my position this year, so I'm pretty new. Yeah, and then about my background, I come from the background where the food and people and all this curiosity naturally came together. So I studied food and nutrition and psychology in my bachelor's, and I focused on food-related behavior in my master's. And then I more into the sensory science when I started my PhD. So I've been always fascinated by how we experience foods, and it's not just about the taste, but also like how this food make us feel, and then how we behave related to that. So sensory science felt like the perfect blend of the science and the creativity and also the human insight. So that's how I see that this is very nice connection about the analytical thinking with real world applications. Yes.
I really like that blend of science, creativity, and human insight. That's really, really neat way of saying it.
Thanks. Maybe now turn to Samira. You can.
Hi. Yeah, hi, I'm Soumya. I'm originally from Delhi in India, but I'm based in the UK at the minute. I did my undergrad in food science in Delhi, all the way through a master's and a PhD, again in food science, but that from the UK, from the University of Reading. I'm currently working at an R&D company in the ice cream sector within UK, where I work around sauces, and my role is kind of trying to link sensory, flavor, formulation, all the physical measurements across different functions. And I think I love being in this space because it kind of helps me translate the sensory science evidence into products that we all consume and enjoy. I think so I've studied food science all the way through my education, but the way I got connected to sensory science and I discovered sensory science was how you kind of discover a flavor, little bits, trying little bits, and then gradually just loving the field. And I think, as Ansung said, it's like a perfect blend of science, human interactions, how we eat, we react, and how we like even touch the food and the food products. So I think that whole combination is what excites me about sensory science and the reason I've just continued working in sensory science as well.
J'ai pas de son là, ça me saoule.
Thank you.
Please, can you turn your microphone off? Yeah, that sounds really good.
Yeah, I
Really
think
nice to see the passion from everyone.
exactly. And I was just going to say something that I find it really interesting to hear about how people find sensory science, because usually it's not something that a kid at the age of 10 or something like that comes to mind. And we can see here that usually is later on your stage of university and all of that, that you find this passion. So we can see a pattern just to add to that. I will hand over to you, Lauren.
Sounds good, Adriana. Thank you. So let's take a step back then and think back to when you were studying. Can you think of some teaching method or learning experience that really had a big impact on you? Why do you think it worked so well? Maybe I could start with you, Ansang.
Perhaps based on my personal experience, I think the most the learning experience that stays with me is always like the hands-on ones, the one that like we do the real example, like when when we have like more sensory tasting, like instead of just watching the presentation and then just going through all the method and then how we do, but when this the lecture combines like the real example, then it's really like stays in my head, and then together with like you can also do this, you can see the data is coming in, and then they do like a quick analysis and then how we interpret the data. It's like really like a hands-on experience there. So I think that way of teaching is always the best for myself. For me, yes.
I enjoy that way of teaching as well, because you can see people's enthusiasm to take part in those types of studies. So, how about you, Zine? Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just saying it's quite similar for me as well. I just learn much better when it's in the practical sense rather just theoretical, when we can actually like feel it, that it's real, like developing a sensory study, going through all the process of setting up the method, analyzing the data, and then translating that into actionable insights for now the industry, for example. So it's quite similar for me as well. Sorry to interrupt, Sina.
Yeah, no, I agree with you all. My professor has always give us topics where we should research and learn or read independently or in group. And I think it was very good way to get this information firmly in our minds, even if we were not so enthusiastic about this homework. But I know now that was very effective way to delve in the deep of the topic by yourself, even whether to listen only what he said or shows, but when you read and discuss it in a group with your colleagues, that became more assimilated for in your minds. Yeah.
So Ansang and Simona said that they liked the practical because they enjoyed that part and it helped them learn. And Zina, you said it was doing the personal research, but you didn't particularly enjoy the homework. It wasn't something you looked forward to. What do you think could make that kind of homework more enjoyable so that you learn more? Was it just the fact that you had to do it, or?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think better it is to give it in the lesson, like not to give it for home, but to do it in that place, in the moment of the lesson. And the I know myself, I can spend a lot of time by research, and when I look to the clock, then I say, oh God, I spent 3 hours for that. During when he would give it to us to do it in that moment in the lesson, it will take probably half an hour, and you are more effectively, and you can work together, and you can develop this group skills together, and to do the same work as if you do it alone at home. Yeah, will be my way.
Yeah, it's a really good answer. I like that. Very nice.
For the rest of you, did you have as well some challenges that you overcome them, or Alison or Samia?
Yeah, so I think in terms of challenges, especially when I kind of finished university to get into the industry, I think something similar to what Zina said about working together in the group. I feel like during our education, we do have group projects, but one of the things that I realized was when we graduate, we've got the sensory knowledge about taste and flavors, but not necessarily on how to communicate knowledge to, for example, a marketing person. I know there are different neuromarketing
To
skills,
different
but when you're
audience.
exactly, so just translating that into like a business language is something that at the very beginning I was struggling with. And another thing was kind of maintaining that balance between consumer perception, consumer liking, balancing that with nutrition, cost, sustainability, because when you're in an organization, you have to kind of balance all of that. So I think that was a bit of a challenge at the very beginning, but then you quickly have to just adapt when you're working in the industry.
Yeah, my challenges was of a personal nature more than a technical one, like the soft skills, just to interact with another people that are, for example, not from the sensory science, and you must persuade them to do it in your way, or to defend the sensory topics. Or and another thing was that I quickly realized that I had not so much time to learn, to read, to research for myself, because in the daily life business you just need to do the things in the time, and you have so much to do, and that you are not allowed, like you are allowed, but you have not the time for it as you had in the study. That's why I encourage every student to use every lesson and to absorb everything that they get during the lessons from the professor, because later on you have not the time for this.
Yeah, I agree both of Samuel and then Naida. Yeah, I think the biggest challenge is like kind of how to balancing this scientific rigors and then the human side of sensory work, because it's always like this is soft skill that Naida mentioned, that it's not about like how much we know all these technical skills and then things, but it's like we are doing together with a human being. So I think that part is like always kind of you need to adapt, and then you learn by how you're doing. So yeah, I think that's the challenging parts, because no one cannot really teach you how to do it. You kind of learn by doing it. Yeah.
That's why the group works are so important, even if you don't like it, maybe. Yeah.
Yes, very good points. So maybe I could start with you, Samaya. Do you think when you started work, do you think your all your studies prepared you for the workplace, or what was missing, maybe?
Yeah, I think I would say I was partly prepared. Like I was prepared with the academic knowledge about the theoretical side of sensory science and the practical side of how to implement it. But the thing where I was kind of lacking was, again, as I mentioned earlier, about translating that into like the business language. And I remember the first week when I started, I was having a conversation with my manager, because I'd just come out from a PhD, which I think sometimes PhDs can be, you are in your own silo and you're working on your own project. So my manager's first advice was, this is not your PhD. It's like, it's not your responsibility alone. It's like a group work. So you work with different teams to get to a common goal. So I think that was something I kind of started learning on the job, on how to collaborate with different teams, not just within your own team, but different teams who might be on a different level in terms of the scientific language that you're using, because you have to interact with procurement, you have to interact with the suppliers. So how do you change that language based on the audience is something not necessarily we get experience during the academic journey. It's more like doing your work, translating it into scientific publications or presentations for scientific audience. So I think that is where I just felt slightly underprepared, but again, you're not expected to know everything, I guess.
Maybe we should do PhDs in groups. New type of PhD.
Why not?
How about you, Ansang? Do you think you were prepared when you started work?
I think I also would say like a half prepared because I do know the knowledge, but now I moved to the like new environments, but still I'm in academia, so probably I'm not really like tackling the similar way that some of you are doing, because like you need to communicate with the other people, like other departments, but I'm still in this scientist bubble. So in certain extent, like we kind of do the similar things, but now I'm in the different department. So this the department where I belong to is molecular science. So there is like chemistry, food, like chemistry people, and then like other like doing the food structure and things. And then now I'm just like a little bit of like wondering the language that they are using. So they're talking about all these chemical things. I do know I have some, the studies, but it's like a little bit like a different language that we are using it. So, but like it's the sensory science also like needed in this part. But I feel I'm a little bit lacking of like those knowledge when they're talking about the structure and then other thing. I mean, we also having like collaboration, but I need to like learn like some new languages. That's I think one of the things that I felt, and also this all this management skills. Like when I'm doing my PhD, then you just kind of follow, and then it's your thing, like your study. But as it's still like you part in the project, but you can be in the two part of like different projects. So you need to kind of do the like time management also, and other things to navigating like different workflows. So I think that's I think the thing that we cannot really learn from the application. We kind of need to adapt and then doing it when you are in that situation. Yeah.
Totally agree with you. And as I said before, that is, you have so many. I have many projects, and you should. I should learn to do some compromises time to time, just because in university you are told to do the things as Dean Isonorm said, or to do like the theory said, but in the praxis, sometimes you don't have the participant number, or you have much more samples, and then you don't have the time, you don't have money, and you should do something about this. And you should be able to take some like to make some compromises with your knowledge that you've learned and the situation now, and you should learn about this.
But that's someone said something to me a while ago now. I don't know if I can remember the exact quote, but it was something along the lines of, if you're going to compromise, you need to know what you're compromising on. So having that basic knowledge first is really important. Otherwise, you might be taking a corner that actually won't give you the data that you need.
Yes.
So you do have to learn to compromise at work, don't you, when you go to the workplace? But you need to know the information beforehand. So
yes, and keep it qualitative, still on, like, from not to compromise the most important things.
yes.
All right. Thank you for sharing your experience. We really wanted to know a bit about looking to the future, what new skills you think that a sensory professional can be technical skills or soft skills, which skills you think that are really valuable for the future, and as well how universities can help you help those students to learn them as well.
I think I guess it's gonna be like a quite popular topic to discuss. I guess like these digital tools, like how to adapt to like new digital tools. I also need to learn because there is like new things that will keep coming in. So these digital tools or automation, like all those things, perhaps now the generation is changes and then the new time is coming. But at the same time, I think this cross-disciplinary communication, I think that's also like not just only like sensory, like we are like communicate, like we using like a certain words and the things, but we also need to like, since now we need to do the collaboration together. So perhaps it's nice to get to know how to communicate with the other discipline, or for example, if you want to go to the industry, then like people from like marketing or business, so they also using their different words, and then how we communicate that, perhaps nice to get some basic idea. Yeah. And I guess the communication skill is getting more important, how you pitch yourself, your ideas, and then how you communicate it.
Yeah, I think I
Yeah, for
definitely
sure.
agree with Ansing as well. It's especially with the whole AI revolution going on, it's very important to kind of get yourself equipped and like get more knowledge about how to use those AI tools in an effective way, and to make it as like work as a teammate rather than as your enemy, because I feel there's a lot of debate going on, is AI useful or not. So I think it definitely cannot replace human senses, so it's good to kind of befriend it. But I think just to add on to that, I think another important skill that I feel is around the storytelling of your data. I think as academics, we definitely do that, translating our data into academic publications, talking at the conferences. But I think there's also other element of how do you translate that for a business need? How do you translate that to a senior stakeholder so they can then go and talk about it to marketing or to investors? I think just be able to like tell a story using your data so it's science backed is also, I think, a very useful skill that we should, I think we're already learning, but need to bit more refine it in a way that we can use it in different languages, if that makes sense.
So what have you learned while you've been learning about storytelling from your work? What can you share with us to help us?
I think one of the things that I think I'm still learning, but one of the things that I've learned is to just the same content of the slides. I've got a master deck, but how do you adapt to it? Like we were talking about compromises earlier, I feel like compromise plus adaptation. How do you adapt those same slides, same content to talk to a different audience? If I'm talking to a product developer, what content do I want to communicate with them? I'm also going to a school to talk to 9 to 12 years old. So how do I explain the science of ice cream to them in a different language? So I think it's just like, and I think it comes with a lot of practice rather than just learning about something, just like trying to be more creative with your content.
Sounds good.
And yeah, it's funny that we thought about the same thing about AI, and apart from AI skills, and how do we use it in a more effective way. I'd like to add something that Ansung has said, that we should learn how to promote and defend sensory science in front of many others in the company that are not involved or familiar with it, especially in these times of economic instability, where there is the question about everyone tends to save money, and it's important to be able to convince others that why sensory is so essential, and the person should not avoid it or to keep it important in their eyes. Yeah, that's very good skill that you should learn.
Sounds very important.
Perhaps just to add, Samuya, if you could share a practical example on how universities could help students learn on how to better communicate to the different audiences, I don't know, from what you've studied and from your learnings.
Yeah, I think one of the important things is which I actually had like a module during my master's where it was, I think, called something like entrepreneurship management around that space. And the very useful thing that I found was we had, so on our university campus, we had some research centers from some different companies. One of them produces chocolate, I think. So we had them like partnered with us on that particular module, and they gave us a real life kind of industry brief to work on like on an issue, and then we had to go back and like present our findings or what we were trying to develop with that. I don't exactly remember, it's been a couple of years now. But I think one of the practical things that we could encourage, the universities could encourage, is collaborating with the industries in the sense of not just working on a project together, but bringing the students to kind of immerse in a real life problem. So they kind of get to know on how to tackle it from an industry point of view or how to communicate with a different stakeholder. I think that could be, at least I feel like that could have been really important if I had more of those opportunities.
Perfect, thank you.
That's a very good answer. So we've had some good questions and good answers so far. I just want to remind everyone, if you would like to ask a question, you can ask a question in the Q&A. So if you look down in the far right-hand corner, there's, I think it's 9 dots. If you click on that and then move up, you can see the word Q&A, and then a nice big blue button comes up and it says ask a question. So please put your questions in there if you'd like to put any questions to any of the 5 of us. We're happy to answer them. So we'll move on to the next question then, which is a bit linked to what Samaya just said. So maybe I'll start with you if you don't mind. I know you worked on KTP, and so I was wondering, what do you think universities could do in terms of collaboration with external bodies just to improve students' learning?
I think I'll just give a quick introduction of what a KTP is, because I'm not sure if the audience might be aware of that. So KTP is known as the Knowledge Transfer Partnership. It's a program within the UK, as far as I'm aware, where there's the Innovate UK, the research council body. They kind of collaborate with a university and a company, and all of these 3 partners work together financially, resource-wise, knowledge-wise, to kind of bridge the gap between industry and academia, which when I found out about it, I thought that that was a very good example of a good collaboration. So my role, I'm a KTP associate at the company. So my role is I work on a company problem, like a scientific issue that the organization is struggling with, but they don't have the academic means to maybe tackle the research behind it. So that's where we collaborate with the university, and I'm trying to build that. I'm transferring knowledge. I'm learning things at the organization, trying to transfer that into academia, learning things from academia, trying to translate that into business use cases. So I think that's quite a good collaboration program, but that is only available for, I think, people who have either completed their masters or completed their PhDs. But I feel like if you want to encourage the new generation from their undergrads, I think maybe not at this large scale, but I think collaborating with the organizations in a way where you are sharing like maybe some real life stimulated data sets, giving them exposures to the kind of instruments or equipments we are using at university versus industry, and how we can kind of use that to grow together rather than saying, oh, the company does not have this, we cannot do this. University has this, we can do this. So it either or, instead of being either or, it's how we can work together. And I think that also it's also beneficial for the universities, for the companies, that they are kind of having the new generation already kind of ready to translate their the academic learnings into an industry setup.
Yeah, sounds really useful way of working, doesn't it, the KTP? Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And Sung, did you do anything like that when you were studying in either undergrad or for your PhD?
So my PhD was like bigger research centers under the bigger research centers project. So we had like some industry partners. But so they were there, but it's not like what Samira explained, like it's not the similar context. So I think that it would be very nice if you can have these weird challenges together with the companies and then tackling the things when you are doing your bachelor or master's, even your PhD. I think it's a really good opportunity to broaden your aspects and then like do it in the weird challenges. I think the problem solving of the weird challenge is always more exciting than, I mean, the creativity also nice, but it's two different thing in a way. Yeah.
And how about you, Zena? Did you have anything like that? Did you work across it with industry or anything in your studies?
Yeah, I was lucky to work in all of this institute. Like when I was in university, then research center, and now in the internship in the industry. And I have observed that in a university, you get the information, the foundation, and help you to decide or to discover your sensory abilities by learning things, and mostly in more theoretical nature. Then you go to in a research center. There you have you can apply your theoretical knowledge and do it in a more practical way, because they have this expensive and advanced technology, and you can try things, not be afraid to do something wrong, because in the industry you have this theoretical knowledge, you have the practical knowledge, and you are asked to apply it in a real world product that will land at the end in the hands of the consumer. And there you should be very, very attentive to all of the stuff. And and that's why I believe it should be nice that when the students will allowed to do many internship, more than one internship or two, to do it to be compulsory in a research center or in a industry or something like service centers, because then they see all of these sectors or institutes, how they work, and they will be more considerate, will be more tolerated maybe later in the daily life work, when they meet someone from a research center or university. They know how the things going on there, and that's why it's very important that they get a look in it, and they can easily choose what is the most favorite institute for them and work there. Yeah, it would be nice.
Yeah, it's a really good suggestion. I think that people who've done an internship or they've had a sandwich course or something like that is very helpful, isn't it? Yes, interesting.
Perhaps to continue, a different topic, but something that we also wanted to explore was regarding that sensory education has been really connected to human nutrition. So in terms of preferences, acceptability, now we know that's how that can influence the adhesion to a diet and so on. We really wanted to know your thoughts on how we could raise awareness of its importance, basically. Do you think this could be done in an early stage, even before the university? What do you think?
Yeah, it was my first thought. Like when I reflect on myself or on my childhood, I believe that nurturing sensory skills from early age will have a major impact on later on as an adult. For example, my parents, especially my father, were very curious. Is a very curious person, and he passed on his knowledge, his curiosity about different food, different spices, different natural products to me. Then he always encouraged me to try them and not to be afraid of them. And that's why today I'm just the same, and trying new things and describe them and really enjoying them became a way of life for me. And that's why, as a result, my diet is based on variety, and I think it's a very good way to eat. And I think that when every parent will do the same, just keep trying to give the children, not to stop, like not to give up, because I think in a study that is done, one of my colleagues actually, she has showed that when you try many times, then the acceptability will rise to the children. That's why you had not to give up, just to give to the children, and they will like it in one day, or just dislike totally. But yeah, can be the path of
For your time.
process.
You, Ansung?
Yeah, I think we kind of we have like one of the probably the nicest strategy is make people to understand that sensory science is in our everyday life. So it's not like a far away. It's not like the science, the far away. It's only academics doing, or like only industry they are doing for the product development. Because it's actually like shaping our eating behavior, like how we choose how the sensory experience drives our food choice. If we start to thinking about that, and then we start to make like the connection, like giving the connection, then perhaps people start to understand like why the sensory education is matter for the public health, because it's actually like one of the driving force of our food choice. Yeah, the bridging those connection might be one of the good strategy.
I
So
completely.
for you, before going to Samuya, Ansung, for you, when did you find that sensory education really mattered?
When this matters, that's actually a good question. I think it can be like different stages, because like when you do it in the early like childhood education, then it's more like the playing, and then they start to understand and the things, but it's not like this sensory science that we are talking about in the academic.
Yeah.
So in that case, it's very important, because you are a child who experiencing everything for the new, and then it would help the like Janaida's example, very good example, like you got the curiosity and then you try more. But when you grow up, then you perhaps like for the gymnasium level or like university level, you already set your behavior and then your choices. And then perhaps in that case, they might be having like a new layer. Okay, like I could see these things in different way, because they haven't really thought about the sensory science like a sensory education could give them like a new perspective. So I think it's depends on like which like level you are, or which stage you are. Yeah. So I would just say sensory science is everyday life, so it is important. Yeah.
Right.
Samuya.
Yeah, I'm completely aligned with what Zinaida and Ansung said. It's so important to be first be curious about what you're eating. And I personally believe like you should be enjoying your food. And if you're enjoying what you're eating, you tend to kind of eat better. So that kind of helps with the nutrition element. And I also come from the rich tradition of Ayurveda, where the whole core principle behind the food is to kind of appreciate the core ingredients, the natural ingredients, be more mindful of what you're eating, and try to like eat with diversity, which kind of also enables curiosity around there. So I feel like that element where you're enjoying what you're eating, and also kind of creating a good experience around you, which I try to incorporate in my personal life. I love hosting my friends and family. So it's not just, of course, it's about the food, the quality of the food and the nutrition of the food, but it's also how you're presenting, which leads us back to sensory science. It's the visuals, it's how you're lifting up your fork that kind of affects the weight of the fork that affects your perception of the food. So I think it's the whole experience and the whole tradition of eating food that I think makes it better. So if you're encouraging that practices of maybe changing the narrative of don't just eat better, but enjoy your food, that might help with the element of adding more nutrition.
Yeah, nutrition's such an important area, isn't it?
Mhm.
And going back to what Ansang said about having sensory science education when you're a child, that would be so beneficial for me as a sensory scientist. Because I don't know about in your countries, but if I say to people now that I'm a sensory scientist, my normal answer 99% of the time is, what on earth is that?
It is a similar situation with me as
Yeah.
well.
So if people learned about it at school, it would be so much better. And also there'd be more sensory scientists out there enjoying life as a sensory scientist, because it's such a wonderful career, isn't it?
Indeed.
Yes,
Has a dream
right.
to be job, right?
Dream job, definitely.
I get to eat ice creams all day for work. It's a dream job.
Yeah, a friend of mine said, "Oh, what do you do?" Oh, yeah. Today I have a sensory test with some chocolates and eat and evaluate. Oh, I want it too. And why your job is so interesting. And everyone like it when you deal with food and describe them. I think they are jealous only.
So we have a question from the audience, which I'll ask to everyone and see what you think. So this is from Carol. She says, did you find it difficult to secure a job in sensory science after you finished all your studies?
I feel personally, I just felt lucky that I had made a lot of my PhD. Let me make a lot of connections. Let me do a lot of networking by going to conferences. So I think that really came in quite handy. The current role, the KTP role that I'm working for, I saw that as a LinkedIn job advert from one of my connections from the university who I met at conferences, and that's how I reached out to them to know more about the role. I applied for it, and it was a long process, but it was smooth. So I would say I was quite lucky that I got something, like I got a position even before I defended my PhD. So I don't think I had a lot of struggle at that point.
Oh, congratulations, sounds good.
I was lucky too, actually, because I was looking for a master degree thesis, and then I came here at Fraunhofer. I did it, and then they proposed me a job as a sensory scientist, and it was my luck that there were enough like hours to cover, and yeah, that's what was a very very nice things, and that's why I say to all like students that are at the end of their study that you should pick the company where you write your thesis or something like that very carefully, because it's much more easier to come in when you have already write something there or did an internship or something like this.
Yeah, very good advice. Yeah.
Yeah. My professor has always said, you just let or give them a visit card from you with this. Right? That's why it's very important to pick the right one.
I also think I was lucky, and then also like it's similar that like the networking during your PhD could help you find the job after the PhD. But I guess I haven't really looked much in the industry because it was a very bad by the time that I think now the job market, everybody a little bit complaining that it's very bad. So I was like kind of in between. So I feel very lucky that I found a job at academia and I can stay in academia a little longer. Yeah, but I guess it is a bit tough if you don't have like some connection. I think like a previous experience or like some network. Like if you have had like an internship or like a project together with industry, perhaps then it's a little bit. I wouldn't say easy, but a little bit giving more chance to find a job, I think. So it might be very nice this KTP, if other European universities do the similar thing, then it might be giving more opportunity for the student to look for where they should look for. Because sometimes like it also can be depends on the country that you are. Because in some countries they are very strong with the industry collaboration. But on the other hand, in some countries they are less active in that sense. So it might be nice to have like some similar like module. Yeah.
So Carol, in answer to your question, I think the answer is no, they did not find any difficulty. They all consider themselves lucky, but perhaps they're just very good students. So a final question. I was wondering if you were meeting someone who was just starting lecturing in a university, it was their first role. As we find out, when you're a PhD student, sometimes you have to do lecturing and things like that. What would be a piece of advice you would give them to help them?
I personally have not had a lot of experience in lecturing, but I think if I have that experience, I think something that I would do is maybe bring in some real life examples for example, from the industry to make it a bit more real, because that's what helps me learn. But I feel like Adriana, you and Lauren are quite experienced if you have had experiences in lecturing. I don't know what Ansung and Zaida have like thoughts on that as well.
Well, my thought would be if you don't know the answer to a question that a student asks you, don't pretend that you know the answer. Tell them that you'll go and find out the answer, because you're going to develop your learning even more. So that would be my one piece of advice. So.
That was my point too, actually, Lauren. I wanted to say that you should be yourself, with your knowledge, your personality, and even the faults, because the students see the authenticity in there, and they like authentic teachers, and they feel more comfortable, will feel more comfortable with you. And this is very good, because then they will ask questions and be more able to discuss with you. And that will be the first step in learning, and it's a very important thing. There's just that they feel easy to interact with you and not afraid and don't ask any questions, and they get bored. Yeah.
Good point. Yeah, it's nice to have that question and answer as a lecturer as well, because then you realize that people maybe didn't understand something you said, so you can improve your slides, or the question actually makes you think about something in a different way that you hadn't thought about before. So
right.
It's much nicer to have a question and answers than just be lecturing as such.
Yeah.
Thank you for the comment, because I'm gonna soon having lecture. So what should I remember? Like, don't lie to it. Don't pretend that you know everything.
And be yourself.
Be myself. Yes. Yeah. Good.
So when are you going to start doing that, Ansung?
Now it's scheduled in May, so I have a couple more months to prepare my first lecture. So
is it on sensory science?
yeah, in sensory science.
Exciting.
Oh, it's exciting. Yeah, very good.
It's fun.
Yeah. So I don't think there's any more questions in the Q&A. So I would just like to say thank you to each and every one of you for taking the time to join us on this conversation. So thank you particularly to Adriana, because she has been very kind in helping me pull this webinar together. So thank you very much, Adriana. And also thank you to Zina, Ansang and Samaya for volunteering yourselves to be questioned in this way. I hope we make you feel quite comfortable when we're asking the questions and you didn't feel like it was some kind of police interview. It was very nice to hear about your experiences and the things you learned while you were studying, and also things that you wish you'd learned while you were studying that you're using now. So thank you very much, everyone, and I'll see you again sometime.
Thank you.
Thank
Vanessa.
you.
Thank you so much.
Very pleased.
Cheerio. Bye.
Ciao.
Bye.